Hi, I'm Robin and welcome to this video which introduces release 41 of Alpha Tracker, probably the biggest update we've ever done. I know we always say that, but there's 500 or more performance fixes, new features, changes, bug fixes, new integrations with other software packages, all within release 41. The team have been working so hard on this for the last 6 months or so. We're really proud to bring it to you. It's already in use by lots of beta testing customers, and all of these changes, almost all of these changes, have come from ideas from our fantastic Alpha Tracker family of consultancies and big organizations that use Alpha Tracker to manage their asbestos problem or their water hygiene problem or their fire risks. So thank you to all of our Alpha Tracker community for your input. It is much appreciated. We love it when you tell us how you'd like us to improve the product. So let's crack on with this video. I'm introducing the top 10 features here. There'll be a webinar, by the way, in a couple of weeks to go through things in a little bit more detail. You can see all of our old webinars on our website if you want to, by the way. You can just scroll through here, just go to the webinars page. And Kim is busy with the release notes. So when she's updated them, she'll put the release notes on the website here and update the user guide. She's almost finished. So that'll be here on release 41 page on the release notes. Anyway, let's look at the new features. So let's start with a new look. So there is a new look to the system. It's subtle, but it's there. So a lot of color changes, new icons, new button styles, lots of new little features to make it easier to use the software and make it more appealing. So that's the first one. Second one, you won't actually notice directly from anything on screen, but we've completely rewritten the platform that runs Alpha Tracker. It's the biggest technical change probably we've had in years, which means if you're a busy consultancy or you've got a big server, you'll really notice the difference. This is something called free threading. Jack will gladly tell you all about it at length if you really want to know the technical details. But essentially, we've recreated the underlying platform behind Alpha Tracker with our partners, and it's going to make a really big difference to people. That's number two. Number three is improvements to single sign-on. This was announced, single sign-on was announced in release 40. This is where you can log on to your network in the morning and not have to log into Alpha Tracker again because you've already logged into your Microsoft network. You've now got much more capability to control what a user can do, set up new users, mark users as inactive, all from your Microsoft networking tools without having to do it directly in Alpha Tracker. If you're interested in that, if you already log into a Microsoft network in the morning and wonder why you have to log into Alpha Tracker separately, or you've got security concerns, get in touch and we can help you set that up. Number four is an interesting one. This came from people that have transferred to us from our main competitor in our market. And one of the features that they wanted to see was the auto emailing of reports, asbestos reports in particular. This is where you've signed off a report, you just want it to be emailed to your client and not have to manually do it. You can now do that in the software. So Alpha Tracker now supports automatic emailing of signed off asbestos reports directly to your client. You can enable it on a client by client basis. Don't worry, it's not going to send it out to everybody. Give us a call if you want to talk through how that works. Next one is quote chasing. Now, quote chasing is really interesting. So generally with quotes, and I use Alpha Tracker to do our own quotes. We use Alpha Tracker in our own business, of course. I'm chasing up a quote and I'll just put a manual note on to say I've done it, but I might be chasing by email, for example, and I'm having to write emails to send out and say, hey, are you still interested? Are you anything I can do to help to move this quote forward? You can now automatically chase quotes. Alpha Tracker will automatically send emails if you want. The feature is really clever. It supports templates. You can change the content of your of the emails that are going out. I did a blog post about it. The blog is really good, by the way, for keeping track of features that are coming up in Alpha Tracker. Do recommend you follow our blog. But anyway, automatically chasing quotes, big time saver for sales teams in particular. Next one is counts. So on the Jotter, so this is the Jotter screen here, or the forms icon, you can see in this case I've got one form available for each of these projects. I've also got one Jotter note on these two projects. Look on our demo system, see the number one. So it's now counting how many Jotter notes there are. So if you use the Jotter feature, and I recommend you do, it's really handy. you'll now get a count of how many jotters there are, how many notes there are behind that, to save you having to click and then find out there aren't any, basically. So that's useful. By the way, with Jotters as well, if you use Tracker Filer, so that's the integration between emails and Alpha Tracker, it will now automatically add a Jotter note if you send an email and copy in Tracker Filer. So if you send an email about this job T57951, copy in Tracker Filer, as well as Tracker Filer filing the email in the document folder here, it will automatically add a note to the Jotter to say that's happened, so that you can easily see how many emails have been filed. It gives you a much better view of what's going on in the project. Next on the Asbestos Appointment screens, this is a new one. It's a bit like our water appointment screen, but it's specifically for asbestos appointments. And this one enables you to see all of the appointments that have been made for asbestos jobs. You can filter by date and things here, and then track what's going on with those particular jobs. If you use our water appointment screen, it's very similar, but it's for asbestos. So the companies that use us for water hygiene for Legionella have said, why haven't we got a similar screen for asbestos? Very good point. You now have. That's number 7. Number 8 to do with exporting. So you can now set up exports that include files. Now, the export feature is a feature of our reporting system in Alpha Tracker. Previously, you could download data that went into an Excel spreadsheet, but if you wanted files like the photos or the reports or the plans or the certificates to go along with that export, that was a manual job. It isn't anymore. So now we can set up exports that you run from within Alpha Tracker that automatically download the files into a zip file, so you can send it off to a client for them to import in their system. Next one, the Wallboard had some major updates. A couple of things I'll just briefly show you, but we'll cover this off in the webinar that I mentioned. If I just bring up, let's bring up 3 people just for ease of showing you on screen. You'll notice that we've now got images here of the people. If images are there, Catherine hasn't got a picture in the system, but me and Dan have, although that is Dan from about 10 years ago. So that's one change. Another change is you can now add, and there's better graphics as well throughout with the Wallboard to give you more information. You can now add appointments across multiple days just by dragging and dropping, which is very nice. So you can essentially block things like blocks of holiday or bank holidays or things like that. So against multiple days and multiple people, that's now possible from the Wallboard. It wasn't before. I think I did a blog about that one as well. So again, check the blog out for new features if you want more information. And last one, number 10, is a brand new lab sample exchange feature. So this runs through Open Asbestos, which is our platform for sharing information securely between systems, not just Alpha Tracker, but other systems as well. I'll put a link to Open Asbestos in the video notes and on the blog where I post this video later. The lab sample exchange is really exciting. This will enable you to, if you've got an asbestos lab and use Alpha Tracker, to not only have samples come into your system electronically from other Alpha Tracker systems, but you'll also be able to do that from other software systems as well, meaning that data about lab samples, asbestos samples, between labs and consultancies can now be shared without the admin overhead of actually having to key them in. Big new feature. Again, come from users of competitor systems who are used to being able to exchange data in that way between labs and consultancies. You can now do it in Alpha Tracker. You can do it Alpha Tracker to Alpha Tracker. You can also do it from other systems. And watch out for the announcements coming up to show you the sorts of other companies that we're working with on that to continue to make Alpha Tracker an ecosystem of not only our software, so between Alpha Trackers, but other systems from other providers, because we believe this should be an open marketplace, with Alpha Tracker being one part of an ecosystem for you, our fabulous Alpha Tracker family. So there you go. There's also, by the way, a new Alpha Tracker mobile hitting the app stores next week. That's more efficient, got more features, got some updates in it, and some bug fixes. That one's going into the Play stores next week. So if you're on Google or Apple devices, you'll get that automatically. And that's happening next week when Jack's back from his holiday. So there you go, Alpha Tracker Release 41 with the 500 or so improvements, performance updates, our brand new platform behind the scenes, making it even better if you've got a big server or you're particularly big consultancy. Thanks very much for watching. Keep an eye out for the webinar, keep an eye on the blog, and thanks for being part of the Alpha Tracker family. Thanks again.